In this lesson, we're going to begin the construction of a property input panel, and to do this, we'll use the Property tab Builder. There are two ways to open the Builder, and one way is to click the Custom Properties tab. If you've never created a property input panel, this is what your screen will look like. And all you have to do to open the Property tab Builder is to click this button. If you or someone else on your computer has created a property input panel, you'll have to use the second method of opening the Builder, which is to click the Start button on the bottom left of your computer screen, and then select Programs, SolidWorks, SolidWorks Tools, Property tab Builder. This opens the Property tab Builder, and as you can see, it's used to create a custom property tab that can be accessed by clicking this tab. The very first thing you should do when you open the program is add a message that describes the tab. Click in the window in the upper right corner and enter TEDCF Publishing. Type the Enter key and then enter Custom Property tab. You can make several tabs, and adding a descriptive message at the top helps identify how the tab is used. Custom property tabs can be used in part, drawing, and assembly files. So the next step is to select the type of file that will have access to the tab. We're building a property tab for drawing, so select it from the list. Now we're going to define a group. Click the group box, and in the caption cell enter signatures. This is where we're going to add the drawn by and check by properties. On the top right of the box you can see that it can be expanded and collapsed, and on the right panel is where you set the default for this action. By default the box will expand, so leave this setting selected. The left side of the dialog box has elements that can be added to the tab, and we're going to practice using all the elements. All you have to do is drag an element to the group box, so drag a text box to the group box, drag a list combo box, a number spinner, a checkbox, and a radio button. You can drag elements up and down in the group box to reorder them, so if the order on your screen is not the same as you see here, drag them until they look the same. Once you've done that, select the text box. The best way to learn how an element works is to select it and then look at the options on the right panel. If you click the down arrow on the name combo box, you can see that this is a list of the custom properties we've seen in the past. So the name combo box is the name of the property. Now let's look at the type combo box. These are value types. So the types of properties that can be defined in a text box are properties that have text values, dates, and they can be yes or no. Since a couple of the properties in the signature box are dates, let's select date. And we'll leave the default value blank. Click the down arrow on the property name and select the drawn by date property. And in the caption window, enter drawn by date followed by a colon. The date type is a special property type. When you click the cell, a calendar pops up so that you can select the date. Now let's look at the list element. Select it, and then click the down arrow on the name combo box. Just as expected, these are the names of custom properties. As I said earlier in the course, this list is generated from a custom property file. You can change the list by editing the file, which is what we'll do later in the course. Click the down arrow on the type combo box, and this gives a little information about how this element works. It's a list element, and these are the ways you can generate lists. You can manually enter the list, which is what we're going to do. You can import the list from a text file, an Excel file, or an Access database. When you import a list from an external file, the location of the file cannot change, unless you change it here as well. This setting links to the file, and if you move the file, SolidWorks won't be able to find it. We're going to use the list option, so select it, and then enter a few initials in the list. Once you've done that, check this option. When this option is checked, users can enter initials that may or may not be in the list. So this gives the user the opportunity to add new initials. Now select the Drawn By property and then enter Drawn By followed by a colon in the caption window. It would make more sense if the Drawn By entry field was above the date, so drag it to the top. We're going to look at the other elements in the next lesson, but feel free to browse through them before you proceed. One of the key things you can learn about SolidWorks is to learn how to learn about it. We explored the settings on a couple of elements, and then we used them in a way that makes sense. You might try to figure out how the other elements might be used, and then watch the next lesson to see if you're right.